This podcast is coming out so late, so I wanted to do some announcements really quick because tonight at midnight, the 16th, enrollment is back open for the mystery mail call. That's right, we sold out last month. We had to cut the deadline to sign up by a few days. We're gonna open enroll it tonight because your boy got Wolverine #1, the Lee In-hyuk variant. It's freaking Old Man Logan versus Wolverine. How dope is this variant? It's an $8 MSRP. Comic fam, join the community if you haven't done so already. We're doing some crazy stuff. We're also sending out FF49 and a Silver Surfer 3. I just got done pressing both of these. I'm excited to send these out in the mail call in February. Link is in the description. And reminder, we sold out last month. Get on it. Thank you, Marvel. Enjoy the podcast. Comic fam, thank you so much for joining us today. Ryan, how you doing, my man?
I'm super.
You're super. You're supposed to be gone in 10 minutes because you have to work tonight, but you're sticking around for the comic book community.
Thanks. Thanks for that reminder.
You know what else I want to thank you for?
What's up?
Dude, you got me into the Harley Quinn cartoon. You got to explain to the community how you did it. This is insane.
Been waiting a long time to hear somebody say that because I feel like I'm the only one that's been watching this damn thing.
You texted me like 3 times. You're like, Tom, are you watching this? And I said, no. And then he texted me again. He said, yo, you need to ask Eris over at Variant because we know he's a huge Harley Quinn fan. He's like, dude, is Eris watching this Harley Quinn show? And I'm like, I don't know. I'm going to have to ask him. And then today you came over and you're like, dude, did you watch it? And then you showed me something. And I'm like, oh, this is crazy. So I started watching it.
It's probably, this video I found is probably my favorite 4-minute segment of this entire show. But it's a little clip from, I think, the 4th episode or something of this cartoon that's been on the DC Universe app. Should clarify that. This is a cartoon, an original animated series for adults, by the way. This is not kid-friendly, even though it is a cartoon. It's on the DC Universe subscription app. And yeah, I don't even like Harley Quinn. And this cartoon has been blowing my mind every single week. But I showed Tom this little clip of Batman getting in a fight with King Shark.
He's trying to save Robin.
Correct. Yes, Damian Wayne finds himself in a little bit of trouble. And Batman comes in, fights a shark for a little bit.
It's like wrestling him.
Right. And he busts out a can of shark repellent.
Dude, the freaking shark repellent?
From the movie, from the Adam West film back in the day.
Hand me down the shark repellent bat spray.
From like the 60s. This is crazy, dude.
Nice little wink and a nod.
Oh my gosh, I hit so close to home that I already got it on my screen. We watched 1 episode and I'm going to be going through it this week. I'm so excited. Comic fam, if you watch this, put your answers in the comment section below. I want to know if anyone's already watched this and I want to know what you think. And if you do that thing by commenting, we'll enter you to win a giveaway. We have this Excalibur Hidden Gem variant. Who is that going out to?
That is going out to Chris Raniello.
That's right, Chris. Congratulations. We have a packed show today. We make a lot of comic book themed content. We make this podcast every single week. And dude, it's a packed one. We have like Donny Cates stuff, of course, because he's always killing it. This dude's awesome. We also are talking about a backpack. Yeah, a freaking backpack. I got to talk to the community about a backpack you need to know about. And then what else we got on this list, dude? Oh, of course. If you don't know what this is, well, you're going to know soon. But those of you who know, oh, you know. Are You Afraid of the Dark, baby? We're getting into that too.
We're bringing back a few segments we started a couple of weeks ago. We got the, whoa, that's comic. Comics in other media.
What we're going to do is get into one of my new favorite segments, News Nuggets. What's News Nuggets, Ryan?
News Nuggets. Nuggets of news.
Nuggets of news. It's when we take down, like, we communicate stories and news that isn't, like, really big enough for a whole segment, but we put them together and then we just give them to you real quick. You know what? Because we have a couple really exciting things that played out this last week. And we're first going to be talking about Lock and Key. My dad's really happy right now.
He is. You mentioned a while ago that your dad is a big fan of the Lock and Key comic. And since I knew the show was
and
coming
Joe
out,
Hill and
correct.
Stephen King. I grew up reading all that stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. I knew the show was coming out, so I figured it's probably a good time to actually start reading this series. I never have. So I've read like the first 4 trades in like the last month, and oh my goodness.
Every time you come over, you're like, dude, Lock and Key is really good.
Lock and Key is actually really good. Like, go figure. It's a classic for a reason.
Break it down in the easiest way, because it's kind of, it's Joe Hill, so it's got his like father style horror a little bit. So it's got a taste of this horror, but there's this like whimsical aspect of his writing too.
It's a little more childlike, because it's based around the children of this Locke family, hence Lock and Key.
Almost a Narnia feel to a degree.
It feels kind of Narnia-ish. It's about a group of little siblings. Like there's 2 brothers, I believe, and a sister. Don't quote me on that. It's been a while. they have to move into this old family house of theirs that they inherit after their father is brutally murdered. And they just discover there's like magical keys that kind of open different doors in the house. And the whole series is about them kind of learning more and more of the mysteries that go on in this creepy house that they're all living in all of a sudden.
Are they keys or are they weapons? You got to read this comic book. And aside from that, there's a trailer that just dropped, and dude, does it look good.
It looks very accurate. I was a little concerned.
Freaking Animorphs?
Right? Yep. Sean Ashmore's in this.
And I'm like, dude, you know who that is, right? And you're like, oh, dude, that's Iceman.
I know exactly who that is. I can spell his name for some weird reason.
Dude, you knew that a little too quick. I'm like,
Right?
oh, that's Animorphs, dude.
I have a weird like database. I have like IMDb in my head sometimes.
What was his name in Animorphs?
And Animorphs? That was Jake, man. That was the main character in
Jake,
Animorphs.
that's right. When the Hawk's name was Tobias.
Right.
Dude,
Tobias was
did
the
anyone
hawk
read
dude.
Animorphs? Come on, help me out here. But yeah, this trailer looks good. It's gonna be on Netflix. It's gonna be a show. And I'm excited to watch it. This may be the next Umbrella Academy.
I'm hoping it kind of takes off in the same way that Umbrella Academy did last year.
All right. I'm excited to watch it. And I'm also excited to watch, I can't believe I'm going to say this, New Mutants.
Right? I never thought this would actually happen, but the movie appears to be actually coming out now.
Doesn't feel right to say it, man.
No, they filmed this like 3 years ago.
Okay, so Josh Boone, this is what he said. He tweeted this out over on Twitter, Josh Boone Movies. He said that the New Mutants film is PG-13. It's always going to be PG-13. It was never intended to be R, which is interesting because he is saying that because all we heard last year was this is going to be a rendition, but it's going to be horror themed. We're actually talking about a lot of scary stuff today.
It does seem to be a trend throughout multiple podcasts that we do too. Not just this one, but you and I love horror.
Yeah, you're going to hear about this a little bit more. But what I can say is that Bill Sienkiewicz went to Twitter and backed up this rating.
Right, that the movie was always planned to be a PG-13 rating, that there was never really any possibility of it ever being an R-rated movie.
And he goes on to say that based off of what he's seen, that it's a scary movie, but it's PG-13, but it's not campy. It's not like the typical horror tropes that you get bored of. People split off one by one and get picked off. Like, no, that's not what you're going to go see. You're going to see an actually well-crafted narrative. And if Bill likes it, and it's a horror movie, and it's the same director. Like he's approving this cut of the film. Like this was his inspired version, and what he's bringing to screen, he's happy with. It's not being diced up. It's not going to get the Dark Phoenix treatment. We're getting original content. I'm like, okay, I want to see it. And then it hit me who Anya Taylor-Joy is, who is going to be playing Magic in New Mutants.
She looked a little familiar. She's got a face that
I'm
stands
like,
out.
how do I know this person?
Exactly.
Like do I actually know her?
We looked it up. We know her.
Yeah, dude. She's the lead in The Witch, one of my favorite horror movies.
Tom and I are big fans of that movie.
Dude, A24, man. They get me. They really do.
They put out the best.
And she was in The Witch. She looks kind of freaky.
Mm-hmm.
Like she's got that look, dude. I don't know if you've ever seen VHS, but no, nothing there. Okay, well, if Comic Fam, you know what I'm talking about because VHS is a horror anthology, and the first one's about a succubus who
didn't pass my bar.
She's got the eyes, man, is what I'm trying to say.
I looked at that movie and I was like, pass.
Not so much.
Doesn't look good for me. So maybe I'll sit through it. But
you gotta watch that movie.
Okay,
but we're gonna watch New Mutants, and we're gonna come back on the mic and have to talk about it because I don't know. I don't know what to think about this. Comic Fam, what do you think about this? Are you gonna watch this, or has
really
that?
Nervous. I'm really nervous. It was almost didn't happen. Like they filmed it and it almost just got completely killed.
It doesn't matter because like even if it does good, like okay, it does good, we're probably gonna see more. If it doesn't, I don't think anyone was expecting it to be good. So
yeah, I thought it was a done deal. I didn't think this movie was ever going to come out. So I'm excited that we get to see it.
Okay, well, something that I'm hoping we get to see. We have some news from CBR. Let me read this here. It says, according to several reports, Marvel would regain the rights to the characters 2 years after the date of the cancellation of their respective series. We're talking about Netflix, Marvel Heroes.
The Defenders, Daredevil, Luke Cage, Iron
Jessica
Fist,
Jones.
Jessica Jones.
Man, it's like several reports. If true, that would mean that Iron Fist would be back to play by October 12th. Luke Cage, October 19th, and Daredevil, November 29th. That's really close to one another at the end of the year.
So there was a stipulation in the contracts when they did these Marvel Netflix shows that when the shows ended, when they ended, they would have to wait. Marvel would have to wait 2 years after the shows were taken off of Netflix to be using those characters again. And it is now coming up at the end of this year. It'll be 2 years since the cancellation of Daredevil and Iron Fist. So there's the potential for those people to
Reprise
pop
their
up.
role, maybe?
Like that's the question. Would they get the same actors back? Those people have already signed new things. They've already had new projects. They're off doing other things. These shows are canceled.
It's weird, but like I can imagine maybe a new Daredevil. I think he's a big enough character, but man, I don't want to see a new Luke Cage take that role, a new Jessica Jones take that role.
I thought they did really good. I really liked
Iron
those
Fist.
shows.
Okay, maybe a lot of people didn't care for it, but still, I think it was good enough. I mean, better than anything on the CW, dude.
Yes, I agree. And the thought of them coming back is pretty exciting, even if they have to recast them. I know that Vincent D'Onofrio, who played Kingpin in Daredevil, he's been on the record about wanting to come back.
Okay.
Even if it's in Spider-Man.
Take back everything I just said about Daredevil, because if you change Daredevil, you're changing Kingpin, and I don't want that to happen, dude.
He was so good.
He is amazing. Unless you're going to get Gem Mint, call up Steven, make him put on that white suit,
He wouldn't really have
bring
to do
the
much
Gempire.
else.
You're good to go. But, shout out Gem Mint Collectibles. But Comic Fam, I want to know what you think. Do you want to see the Netflix superheroes that Marvel let them, create original content for so long? Do you want to see that continue? I mean, Punisher. We didn't even bring up Punisher.
They might be doing like extra seasons, like season 4 of Daredevil, for example. Or are they just restarting all new series? Or are they just going to insert these characters like Iron Fist, just slip them into Shang-Chi, for example? Like, they've got a lot of different options they could do with these characters, but what?
Yeah, we want to know what you think in the comment section below. Let's move on to, a very important part of the show. We got to let the community know about our sponsor, Key Collector Comics, the best comic book app that exists on the market. If you currently have it, remind you that there's an update that is so good. I thought the app was already optimized. And then Nick's like, no. Go on there, do the update and see what I did. And I'm like, oh my gosh, he just made it that much better.
There's a Donny Cates section now.
Oh, we got to talk about it, man. There's a Donny Cates category.
Does he have it right next to your head on the app? Because I feel like you guys belong next to each other.
Nick, make that happen.
That's right.
Hey, I'm probably going to have a button pretty soon. We got all these variants coming out. Want to be able to showcase the variants, the ones that do well in the market, right?
Oh, man.
There's criterias, not everything gets uploaded. But Donny Cates just made it on the app, his own category. What's going on? What did he tweet out?
He has finished the script for God Country. He's been writing the screenplay based on his own comic book. So now he's done with the screenplay. The screenplay is done. The movie is ready to kind of take the next steps.
Yeah, he got paid for the script. And he's saying that he's open to writing more movie scripts because he had fun doing it. Now, I just want to remind the community, over on Key Collector, there's key alerts, right? This is how you keep up with what's going on in the comic book market. But there's so many titles. And sometimes you're like, I wonder what the last update was. Like maybe I missed something. Or you want to kind of figure out what that track record is for a particular title. This is a great opportunity to do so because Key Collector Comics now has sorted their alert section. So all you have to do is type in the title and it's going to bring up every alert that's happened. And I want to give credit where credit's due. On July 14th, 2018, this alert went out. While it might not be for today or tomorrow, I believe we will be receiving an announcement that this property, God Country, will be developed very soon. Subtle rumors on Twitter and buzz is getting louder. All right, that was in July. The very next month, we have another key alert that says God Country is optioned, but pending announcement because of final negotiations. So it wasn't announced 100%, but it was enough for a key alert because we had insider information and good reason to bring it up. Key Collector, that is. We weren't working with Key Collector back in 2018. But then this past week, we are hearing confirmation from Donny Cates himself that he finished the script. There was nothing in between that.
Like a year and a half.
A year and a half. So God Country right now, #1, seeing $50 highs. People are excited about this title, seeing it advance. So I wanted to look in this category that's been created for Sir Cates. He needs his own freaking category because he's killing it in the comic book collector's market.
Right.
So let's just bring up one more time his first published work.
His first published Marvel work?
No, we're going to go first, like just anything.
Anything.
Ant-Man and the Wasp, issue #2, February 2011. We mentioned this a couple weeks ago. We just did a giveaway. And yeah, he did the summary of...
A little stick figure synopsis summary at the beginning. Like,
That's right.
Previously on Ant-Man kind of thing.
But I want to get caught up too much in that because we've already shared that with the community. I want to talk about some other ones that are on this category list
Please.
that you just got to know about. Dark Horse presents issue number 24. This came out in May 2013. We're going back a few years here. This is way before Cosmic Ghost Rider, Thanos wins, any of this stuff. This is back when he was just earning his writing chops. Working for Dark Horse. First written work in the comic book industry officially. It's a story called Armageddon Out of Here. It's an affordable book. It's a thicker book, harder to find in high grade.
Like Armageddon Out of Here?
Yep.
Okay, that took me a minute. It's a nice little play on words. So that's a full story he wrote instead of just a little brief one-page synopsis.
That's right. And the book is like a $25 book on average. But again, high grade because it was thicker. Those Dark Horse books were, they were really glossy, really prone to fingerprints and things like that. Would be a really cool one to get signed, though. All right. This other one that I have to mention is Ghost Fleet. It's an ash can. There's no number to it. People are going, what the heck is Ghost Fleet? All right. It came out in June 2014. So like year or so after.
Still pretty early.
Right? So this is early Donny Cates. But this is what Donny Cates had to say about this ash can. And by the way, there's no apparent value to this because they just don't hit the market. Well, why don't they hit the market? Let Donny explain it. He says, it's the first ash can I ever produced. Maybe the rarest book with my name on it.
Oh, geez. I can feel you getting excited from across the table.
I want it, dude. I want it. But let's chat about not just like his Dark Horse days and his ash can days. Let's get into his Marvel days.
So if we're not counting the Ant-Man and the Wasp, like summary page at the beginning, the first full Marvel published work that Donny Cates did was in Secret Wars Battle World, the second issue. It was like a tie-in series to Jonathan Hickman's 2015 Secret Wars event. Pretty cool.
Goes for $8.
Not even that expensive.
No, for a first official Marvel published work with Donny Cates' name on it, I think that's an affordable but dope minor key.
Plus, Secret Wars was a really cool event.
Heck yeah, it was. Oh, and that's not all, because we got to also bring up
The Drone?
The Drone comic book. What's going on with this?
So this other comic book was a tie-in, like a promotional comic book that was included in a drone that you could buy that was branded with Iron Man stuff. It was, red and yellow Iron Man. It looked like his armor.
It looked like Tony Stark made this drone.
Right, like a consumer drone that you can just buy and fly around and record things with. And in the box for the drone came a little Iron Man comic book that was written by Donny Cates. It was called Iron Man, presented by DJI, #1.
What's pretty fun is that this is a month after the Secret Wars Battle World 2 debut at Marvel. So it's a month later. This could be his second official Marvel work. I'm not sure about that. I'd have to go through and see if there was anything that came out.
I'd be very interested to know how many of these are even out there, too. Like, how many people bought this drone and how many people knew that this comic, was even worth anything? How many got thrown in the trash? Like,
it's a promotional book. No one cared that it was written by Donny Cates at that time. It's a $3 issue when they hit the market, but keep an eye out for this one. I think it's kind of fun.
Yeah.
Also, at the end of the month, there's a special occasion happening that we want to make sure the community knows about.
Ooh, the Torpedo.
Torpedo Comics. We got all of our friends over there. Shout out to Steve. Shout out to John. We got a bunch of dope people that support our show, and we appreciate them. And they have an event coming out at the end of the month. And, can't forget about my homie Gabe as well. This guy's awesome.
This is the only time I've ever wished I was anywhere close to Las Vegas.
Yeah?
It's too hot for me down there, but
I'll tell you, when I go to Las Vegas, because I've never been there either, I'm going to Torpedo. That's like the destination. There's all these people going to go see Penn and Teller, and they want to go listen to Britney Spears live in concert, which, whatever you want to do, comic fam, you go do what you want to do.
You're not going to Britney Spears?
No, I'm not going to go to Britney Spears. I'm going to go to Torpedo Comics and check out the Gotham Vault.
You can go to Britney Spears after.
That's true.
After Torpedo.
Well, anyways, Torpedo Comics are hosting an event at the end of the month, January 24th, and they're going to have two major creators there. You have Jim Lee and Donny Cates doing their first signing together.
That sounds so cool.
And I know they have some like options that you can, it's like a memberships that you can pay for and get some fun stuff on the cheap.
I think they offer discounts for signings in the future or something. So if you want to go to a bunch of, Torpedo signings, that might be something to look into. But even if you just do this one thing, like Donny Cates and Jim Lee, man.
That's so cool. And I'm just going to put the link to Torpedo Comics' Instagram in the description below. So go follow them, of course. And if you're in the Las Vegas area, you're going to want to go and hit this shop just to enjoy it or to meet some legends in the industry. All right,
I'd be
calling
there.
Donny Cates a legend. I don't even care.
Yeah,
Circuits.
yeah.
All right. And that moves us on to our next segment of the show because of Torpedo Comics. I told you we have to talk about a backpack. And this backpack has been sitting here in a bag for months. It really has. And I've been waiting to do content on it. And then I've decided, oh my gosh, I haven't looked into it.
Convention time is like months away.
Yeah, I haven't gone to a convention
what are
since
you
I
gonna-
bought this backpack.
Right.
What am I talking about? I'm talking about the Hex X Jim Lee backpack for artists and comic collectors.
It's true. That's
All
really
right.
what it's for.
Take it right now.
Oh, it's right there. Okay,
Right
that's
here.
helpful.
All right, so this is what happened. I ordered this backpack because you can get it from Torpedo Comics. I'll put the link for that in the description below, of course. But this backpack is amazing. And I want to go through what's going on with this backpack because if you're going to a convention, I found the backpack you need. People ask me all the time, like, how can I prep for a convention? How can I keep my slabs in order?
That's just a good tip in the first place. A backpack.
Yep.
Like any kind of backpack. I went just holding a Storefolio and doesn't work. You need a backpack.
Let's describe to the comic fam who are listening over on iTunes, Spotify, Stitcher, or SoundCloud, because we do continue this show after the camera shut off. We continue with more comic book themed content.
Right.
And let's describe what this backpack looks like for our audio listeners.
It's pretty square.
Why?
I
Why
mean that
square though?
in a shape way.
In a
which
shape
makes
way.
sense because it's for holding comic books, and those are squares. Those are nice rectangular square shapes.
So this isn't for your standard stuff.
You're not taking this to school.
That's right. No, you're taking this to conventions. You're taking this to your LCS. I want to kind of go through this, but this is the reason why I got so excited today because I didn't realize that there was something inside of this.
Well, it's been sitting out here for months. We haven't gone to a convention, so yeah.
I'm an idiot. No, I opened this up. And the first thing I want to just point out here, let's just go through some of the things that are in here. But the first thing I want to show is that Jim Lee and Torpedo Comics, they teamed up to make this backpack.
Right.
They did it at Indiegogo. It's now available on their site. It's $135. It's expensive, but you'll see why it's expensive in a second. And also, think about what you're going to put in here while I chat with you about this, and then assess if that price seems too high. But the first thing you see right on the top, Jim Lee art. This is
right when you open the flap on the top. Like on the inside of the flap, there's Jim Lee art, like done in really dark blue. So it doesn't pop out too much, but it's classy, it's subtle.
It's Batman.
It's Batman. Okay. Thank you.
It's clearly the Dark Knight, but it looks like just an inside design. I didn't realize that it was Jim Lee art. So I'm so excited that Jim Lee had something to do with this. So It's is like there's Jim Lee art on the inside. Freaking stoked about that. But then you open this up, and aside from there being like a spot that's as protected as you would need it to be to hold a laptop, yeah, it fits slabs. It absolutely fits slabs. It fits so many slabs. And it doesn't just fit the slabs because, again, this is made for comic book collectors or artists. You can put stuff that you would be kind of concerned about in a backpack in here because the sides are laced with fleeced lined pockets so that it has like this layer of protection preventing bends. It's hard.
Yeah, stuff's not going to like rub into each other and everything too.
That's right. They're not going to be rubbing. And also, you can fit raw comic books in here. I'm looking at what looks to be like an accordion style folder in here. And this is why I got excited. There were comics in here, dude. They sent giveaways for the comic fam. And I didn't even realize it because it fits them so snugly that it's like they weren't even there.
Didn't even hear anything rattling around inside
Nope.
when you got it? Oh,
Look
yeah,
out.
there's comics.
They put raw comics in here. They shipped them from Las Vegas. This has been moved around multiple times because I've been delaying getting this video out. Look how nice those look.
Yeah, it's a backpack too. That's probably something that just gets tossed around.
Does that look like those were even slightly damaged? They should have been.
Nope.
Nothing. They look flawless. And we're going to be doing a giveaway courtesy of Torpedo Comics today. Thank you so much. Who's that Batman Who Laughs #1 cover done by?
This is a Tony Daniel cover.
We're going to make sure that that goes out to one lucky member of the community. Let us know what you think about this video in the comment section below. But that's not all. So you can fit raw comics in here. Of course, I saw your Storefolio. I wanted
That's
to
where
show
that
that you can
went.
fit a Storefolio. So
A
you mentioned,
Storefolio fits in there.
have you ever walked around with these at a con?
What do you do with it? You know, how do you go to the bathroom with a Storefolio?
You put them in a backpack. And I want to tell you what I do. This isn't enough room for me.
No,
No,
That's
I
what I
need-
learned. Also, God.
Dude, if
Don't
it's like,
get just a Storefolio. Get a backpack, but get something that holds more than like 10 comics, like me.
I encourage you to get more than one because, check this out. Storefolio, I mean.
Right.
More than one Storefolio because when I go to a convention, I'm carrying around like 2 or 3.
Sure.
And when you put this in a standard backpack, you have 3 back-to-back with this hard edge. This is a hard box. That digs into your back when you're walking around a convention floor. You want this tight to your back. Guess what? This fits inside. You're fine. This store folio fits in there so snug, so safely. And it gets even better because when you close it up, there's something you don't think about unless you're a comic book collector who's designing a backpack and like making a list of everything you want your backpack to have. There is this, look at this. What is this? It's a hook right here. Why is this hook here?
I don't know.
You see these? This is the zipper, how you open the comics? How you open your bag to get to your expensive comics. You're walking around and someone's behind you and they're like, oh, you're carrying a backpack and I want to look inside of it. Yeah, this hook right here goes through this. Good luck getting into that with this on my back.
Yeah.
That's not happening. Your comics are secure. Now,
such a good idea.
This front pocket, it's a big front pocket, right?
Yes, that is.
It's got like...
Got like spots for Sharpies and stuff in the... Okay.
So you want to know what's going to go there?
Signature pens.
My gold, my silver, my red, and my black Sharpies. Don't put it on the artist to have creative Sharpie colors for your comic books. Supply your own markers.
Genius.
Get your dope signature in the color you want it to be. And this right here, you notice how big that is?
That looks like it should hold more than just markers.
I'm going to show you what it's going to hold. What am I doing right now?
You are inserting an Overstreet price guide into the front of the... Oh, wow. That is...
It's literally
perfect.
The exact size of an Overstreet price guide. But here, I'll do you one better. You don't necessarily need your Overstreet price guide. You can just download Key Collector and use a different thing in here. You can put whatever you want.
21st century.
It is. But you know what?
You don't have to
if you're going through and you have your Overstreet, which I still carry, because you know what? What if you lose Wi-Fi? It happens at conventions.
Yes.
You know, carry your Bible around. It's okay.
Very true.
But it fits there. This isn't a paid sponsorship or anything like that. We are friends of Torpedo. Obviously, we support their endeavors. Good luck getting a company to make something like this. How is it that Diamond doesn't have this product or BCW? I want one. And yeah, I recommend it. If that doesn't get it for you, if you get prints at a convention, you know, like what you do with those prints?
Hang on to them.
You hang on to them, and by the end of the show, they're messed up.
Sure.
For me, I hate getting oversized stuff at conventions. I just don't do it.
Where do you put them?
You have to roll them up and hope that you don't screw them up. You put in your backpack, they get bent. You know what I'm talking about, Comic Fam. On the side here, yeah, this looks like a water bottle carrier.
Sure.
Nah. That's for your tube. You carry your tube on the side of your backpack, and now your prints are safe. Comic Fan. If you want to know how to keep your comics safe at a convention, this is the way to do it. Jim Lee style.
We do get asked pretty often, like about tips for first time con people. That's a good idea. I would suggest that is a good idea. Learn from my mistakes. I went to my first con with just comics in my arm to get signed, and then I bought the store folio while I was there. And then you start thinking about more and more better ways you could do this next time. Backpack's a good idea.
Let's move on to the next subject of the show, one of my favorite sections. There's a lot of favorite sections, but this one right here, it brings us close to our community. We're talking about viewer comments. Your comments. The comments that you leave on our videos.
First one is from Pretty Fly for a Filipino guy.
That's awesome.
Pretty good.
Some Offspring references. I like it.
You guys get a like from me for liking others. You guys really care about the community. I like that.
Ooh, he's talking about our shout out to Comic Book Palace. And I want to also mention that Jorge Felipe, I mentioned he was the cameraman of the show. He doesn't just do the filming. He's the editor. He's the creator. It's pretty cool to see someone who saw an opportunity at a store and is putting his time into making a YouTube channel around just comic book focus themes and what goes on in the day-to-day of a real comic book store.
You're doing good work, sir.
Creator and editor, killing it.
There were another couple of comments I pulled from a surprising reaction we had to the Gold Balls t-shirt.
Oh, yeah.
That Nate invented for us.
Yeah, Nate made a mock-up of a t-shirt that said Gold Ballin' because of our comment about Gold Ball.
We got a good response to that. I don't know, man. That might have to actually happen. Roke Arias, if you make it, they will come. And if you do make a Gold Ball shirt, I will wear it and send you a pic of me wearing it.
All right, he said it. So, all right, Nate.
Got another one from Rita Yorn. Says, I would definitely wear that Gold Ballin' shirt.
Another one?
There are multiple comments on that video. Like we got some good response to the Gold Ball shirt. So that might actually need to...
You think it's going to need to happen?
I don't know. Like maybe we're making a Gold Ball shirt.
Okay, Comic Fam, I'm telling Nate to make it. We'll see if our homie who's making our shirts can fulfill. Look out for a gold. You asked for it. I said if you would wear it, I'll make it.
Right?
I'm going to make it.
I might have to wear one now. This one is from A. Briley. I could watch Tom and Fire Guy Ryan talk about the optimal soup temperature. Always an entertaining duo.
About what?
The optimal soup temperature.
When did we talk about soup?
Never. We never have. He's just saying that's something He could see us talking about it. He could watch us
Oh,
talk
he's
about
giving
anything.
us. I see what you're saying. Well, okay. Thank you for the kind comment. I'm curious what your optimal food temperature is, Ryan.
I learned actually thanks to a pro tip from Alec at White Whale Comics. Beards and soup don't mix.
Wow, it just gets everywhere.
I haven't had soup for a long time, so
Really?
warm, I guess, is my optimal soup temperature. Not cold.
When was the last time you had soup?
It's been like 6 months at least. I can't even remember the last time I had soup before that, though. So
You're not a soup guy.
no.
I like soup a little too hot because I
what
like
it
to
is?
dip things in it.
The option at a restaurant, they say super salad, and I'm like, gosh, I should get a salad.
I always like getting Caesar salad.
Yeah,
What's your salad of choice?
any salad. I don't know if I have a salad of choice.
You're like, give me salad.
Yes,
Any salad?
any salad that you have. I don't care. Caesar salad's fine. It's safe. It's nice and safe. I need more salad in my life, is what I'm saying. Soup I
Interesting.
can pass on, especially now that I got this mountain man beard.
Yeah.
What about you? You said hot.
Caesar salad. I do like, but I get soup separately. I like that as my main dish.
Really?
Yeah, like,
like
a good
soup is
chowder,
Ooh,
some crackers in there.
I'm hungry.
You know, some clams. I like clams, dude. I like some seafood, and I like dipping bread, like sandwiches, you know, or just bread in the soup. Like dip it, and then I eat that.
Now you know.
Now you know.
All your questions answered, Comic Fam. One last comment from Luis Feliciano.
Luis, thanks for commenting.
I'm glad to see that I'm not the only person who started collecting this past year. If it wasn't for this show and the Key Collector app, I'm pretty sure I wouldn't be so excited to continue the hobby. Thanks to Tom, Russ, Guru, and my favorite, Fire Guy Ryan. Happy New Year.
That's such a great comment.
Thank you, Luis.
It's one of the things that I had hoped for to happen with the creation of our content.
There were a few comments like that on that video too. Like not just Luis was saying that stuff. So it's good to hear that, you know, we're actually kind of having some sort of impact on people, not just doing this for fun.
Making me feel all warm inside. Appreciate you, Comic
Like we just
Fam.
ate a bunch of soup.
Yeah, I'm feeling like I ate some
Emotional soup.
clam chowder because of that comment. But for real though, thank you so much. And are there any other new collectors? We'd love to hear about maybe what kind of content that really started the
Yes.
spark, because that will help us do more of that to get more people into comic books, because that's what our show is about. You know, we say on the YouTube banner, it says comic books, giveaways, but it also says community. We want to grow the community. That's what we like to do.
Indeed.
Thanks for commenting. Let's now move on to some comic sales that I am stoked about. This happened this week. We're talking about Star Wars. We're talking about not error variants. No. We're not talking about like Thor comics being included in a Star Wars comic. No, not that. No, we're talking about a rare 35-cent issue number 1 price variant of Star Wars number 1. Why did they make 35-cent variants to begin with, and they weren't necessarily looked at as a variant when they were made?
Well, back then, the normal price for a comic was 30 cents.
Sure.
So to kind of test the waters and see how people reacted, they put out some 35-cent variants of certain comic books at the time.
Distributed.
It's kind of hard to notice, but yeah, it looks exactly the same except 30 or 35 cents up there in the price.
Yeah, and you're going to notice that this Star Wars comic we're talking about, there's a handful of reprints of this issue. But no, we're talking about the one that looks like standard cover A. It's got a box. It's not a diamond shape. And it says 35 cents in there. And this is just a occasion where it happened during the first few issues of Star Wars. There were 35-cent variants. And they went out, and you can still find them. And they are hyper scarce, clearly. And they are expensive. And we had a couple sales recently, and I want to get into that. The first one that I want to talk about just happened this week. It's an 8.0. I looked up, it had over 1,300 views in its lifespan on eBay. And it sold for what approximately looks like as $9,000. It could be a little less. It was an or best offer, and I couldn't get a confirmation on, you know, the actual sale or if it was $9,000, but the site says it sold for $9,000. And for an 8.0 Star Wars 35-cent price variant, I'm surprised that isn't $10,000. That's such a rare book. It's such a legendary key. And let's talk about a recent low-grade sale that hit in November. I have another sale here that I want to report on. It sold in November. It's a low grade. It doesn't look very good, but it sold for $1,200. Okay? This is raw. A raw copy. Someone got lucky and found this thing. It looks like someone found this thing. Now, let's go back just a month prior to that. We have an 2.5 graded 35-cent Star Wars variant. It's crazy that these are coming up. First off, like you don't see these very often, but we had like month over month, they started coming out of the woodwork. A 2.5 sold for $2,000 in October. Okay. Now, how does that compare to the later issues that also have a 35-cent variant? Well, there was a number 4 that sold for $555 just this past week. People care about these price variants because the value is so substantially more than their cover A counterpart. And what's cool is that Key Collector has an entire category that's about these priced variants. Specifically, it's called the Check Your Collection category because it's not just 35-cent variants. This testing of the waters happened all throughout comic book history. And there are comics that just at those times hit the market, sometimes correctly, sometimes incorrectly. We'll get into it. And now there is a hyper scarce amount of those particular issues that you need to know about because you may have one of these in your collection and not even know it.
It's really hard to notice, like especially if you're not somebody like Tom or somebody like me who never even knew these things existed. They go right over you.
So we're talking about the Check Your Collections category. The very first picture that shows on this category is an Iron Fist 14, the first appearance of Sabretooth, right? All right, a 6.5 graded, $150 book. A 6.5 graded of the 35-cent variant, $2,000 value.
What?
I know, but you got to think about this. The key significance of that particular book was unknown at that time. It was just another book coming out that month. How many people were buying Iron Fist? How many Iron Fist comics were made that went out to that particular area where there was a variant of the price? Not many. So that particular one is hyper scarce. You see a crazy price difference. I want to talk about 3 different comics that are in this category that seemingly have nothing to do with one another, but there are 3 things that they have in common with one another. The first thing is this issue of Love Romances, issue number 97. Let's chat about this cover first.
Right.
So we have...
There's a lot going on here.
It's a breakup scene. Okay, so we have this lady who says, would you have made the decision that I did? Judge yourself after you read my real story. She looks like she's crying. She was just, I think, broken up with. He is the only man I've ever loved, I ever wanted, and the only man I can never have. Sad day.
We can never be married, Vivian. Let's speak it off now and spare both of us any future heartbreak. Goodbye, little girl.
Don't dare miss Little Girl, a tale that will tug at your heartstrings. All right, interesting stuff. Let's look at the next book on this list here.
That sounds so depressing.
It does sound really depressing. But let me lift you up here because we're going to talk about Gunsmoke Western, and we're talking about issue number 68. Okay, this book.
This is another active cover. There's a lot going on here, too.
Anatomy of a Gunfight. Make it happen.
This old-timey cowboy guy on the front. Let me try.
Do it, man.
Too bad, kid. You finally met 3 gunmen who ain't afeared of you.
Feared.
Ain't afeared of you.
Oh, my God. Thrill to the blazing gun wizardry of Kid Colt Outlaw. All right. Again, these have something to do with one another. We're gonna link them together.
How can those possibly be related?
We have romance, we have Western, all right, and we have another one. We have Journey into Mystery, issue number 76. Can you please just... Okay, first off, we have to describe what this is.
What is happening on this
cover?
cover?
So it's a genie. He's coming out of a bottle. He looks super scary.
Yep.
People are petrified on the streets. Looks like they're in like an industrial zone or some like, I don't know.
Power plant or
Power
something?
plant,
Yeah.
Iron Giant status. And it says here, the genie with the light brown hair and his master's slave. Or was he?
That's not light brown hair. That's all I can see.
Yeah.
They specifically point out the shade of his hair, and that's black. That is black hair.
Yeah, it definitely looks like black hair. Maybe in person, this would look a little bit lighter. I don't know. But all right, if you were to guess, I mean, other than the category being price variance, what do you think are the things that could make these similar, Ryan?
The only thing that comes to mind is that they look kind of similar. Like they must have come out at the same time is what I'm thinking.
Okay, so you are correct. They all came out in January 1962. Okay.
Very specific.
Very good. Okay. Well, it matters. This matters. Okay. So this is the first thing. They were all written by Stan Lee.
Interesting.
That's fun, right?
Stan the man.
That dude had
Love romances.
creative genius, dude. He's thinking about a romance. He's thinking about like a monster genie story. And then he's like Westerns. Let's get into Westerns like gunfighting and stuff. It's cool. Okay. So they're all by Stan Lee. And yes, they all came out in January 1962. But these 3 comics are all price variant issues. Okay. Notice that on all 3 of these covers, in the top right, and where you would typically see a price, what is there?
Their black spot.
There's a black spot.
The black spot!
This right here is the indicator on if you have a price variant, because what happened this month is that Marvel made the switch from 10 cents to 12 cents, but they did it before the interior pages could be printed. So yes, they were all printed at the same time, which is important because this is at a time where Marvel was moving from a 10-cent cover price to a 12-cent cover price. And they made this switch in a month where the interiors had already been printed and the covers were already printed for some as well. So they had to change it. Well, what did they do? Well, they didn't want to reprint the interiors of all of them. So what they did is they kept the 10 cents on the interior, but on the outside, they put a black spot over the 10 cent and just added a 12 cent. So you are looking for the black spot. And if you really want to double check, you open it up and look at the bottom. And if it says 10 cents for this comic book with a 12 cent indicator on the front next to that black spot, you have a price variant of these 3 issues. They're the only 3 that this happened to.
Oh, wow.
And they all have high sales for high grade copies of $900+. 3 comics you wouldn't think go together, but they go so well together.
Stan was doing a lot in the early 60s.
Dude, I'm excited about like the community starting to go through and better understand the history of all of these comics and how they came to be. The more you understand, the more you know what to look for. And I'm interested to see who's going to be interested in collecting stuff that they wouldn't typically want to collect. Like that makes me want all 3 of these comics.
Me too.
But I'm not really collecting a bunch of romance.
No, me neither. But
or Westerns.
those are 3 awesome covers. I need those.
All right. Well, this cover right here, this
Yes.
comic book, this freaking awesome comic book messed me up as a kid. But technically, it wasn't directly. It was indirect. Why? Because this comic doesn't exist. Okay?
But it's right there.
But it's right there. Okay. Well, we're going to get into this. Where is this comic book from?
This comic is from the classic 90s television show, Are You Afraid of the Dark?
This show screwed me up as a kid.
Me too. Specifically this episode.
Okay. We're talking about season 4. We're talking about in 1994. This Y7 show. It was a horror anthology.
Right.
Released on Nickelodeon for children to watch.
Mm-hmm.
And it is surprising that they were able to accomplish this.
I barely remember any other episode of this show, strangely enough. But for 25 years, this one single story stuck in my brain. And I remember last year when we first floated this idea for this storyline, this kind of series of content last year. And we sat down and we watched this episode. And I remember like before you showed it to me, we talked about Are You Afraid of the Dark? And then I said, it's the one with the guy, right? The clown guy.
That's right. We're talking about the tale of the Ghastly Grinner. And this is important. This is a show that may not be like on your top picks to go through again, but this is an episode that every comic book collector needs to know. It's historical for everyone in the 90s who grew up around like the 90s craze, because this story, it was like debuting at a time when comic books were just on people's minds in the early 90s, from the ramp up of independent comics to the boom of what would happen just soon after the airing of the show. We're talking about episode 9.
Right.
Let's go over first about what this story is about. It's about a kid named Ethan Wood. He can't be more than 11 years old. All right. And he is struggling getting his comic book art debuted. He's trying to get picked up by a publisher.
Right. He's a comic fan / comic creator, independent. You know, he's trying to become a comic creator when he gets older.
Yeah, and I think he's a little too hard on himself.
Right.
Because he's getting really frustrated.
He's a little kid. He's already doing pretty good.
He's doing really well.
He's motivated. Yes.
Very motivated. This is actually played by Amos Crowley, who you may not recognize that name, but if you've seen The Virgin Suicides, he was one of the kids that communicated with the family of women across the street. If you have never seen this movie, this information doesn't matter to you. But if you have, you're going to love this little random tidbit of information because that is a classic cult movie and I love it. So anyways, Ethan Wood. He is getting declined over and over again. It reminds me of Todd McFarlane and his story about sending out art, trying to get picked up by publishers, sending out what he says was over 1,000 packages to different publishing companies all the time. He would just keep on doing it until they got sick of him because he knew eventually they would, one of them would open it, maybe give him a shot. Unfortunately, it did. Well, that's what Ethan's trying to do, and it ain't working. He's young, but it ain't working. So he gets a letter from the comic book store, and the comic book store is like, hey, come on in, check out our comics. He goes to a comic book store in Canada. These were all filmed in Canada, and that's why this is important.
For this one scene right here? Is that what you're talking about? When he goes into the comic shop?
It is, but we're going to we'll bring him back to this. Let's tell him about what this story is about. What happens when he goes to the comic book store?
He goes to the comic book store, and he meets this girl that works there, and she gives him a very rare, unique comic book.
Yes, she gives him this.
That comic book.
Yeah, Ghastly Grinner #1, okay? And she tells him that this is the only one that's made in existence and that, she's going to gift it to him. He seems like a cool kid. So he takes the comic book, he takes it to school, and he starts reading it in class. And what happens?
Don't read comics in class, kids, because your teacher might take them and dunk them in the fish tank.
That's right. The teacher got pissed, took his prized possession, his new prized possession.
One-of-a-kind comic book.
And dunks it. Do you see what's going on here?
If it was in a slab, maybe it wouldn't have...
No, we've proven it.
Right?
They are not waterproof.
Not waterproof.
They are not waterproof.
Okay.
No, but do you see what's going on here? It's like we have a kids show in the 90s, and they are using the premise of comic books being damaged as like the basis of their plot.
That's interesting because that's what ties it into the last time we did this segment with the movie in the airplane. That guy was also wrecking the kid's comic book that was in the plastic.
So the kid, he can still read the comic, but that doesn't matter.
It's all saturated. I don't know if you could read it that well, right?
Oh, it looked like you can still read it. But the problem is the kid wants to collect it. So he's going to try to repair it. What does Ethan Wood do to this comic book?
It's a very smart idea. I don't see anything wrong with this idea at all. He takes his comic book and puts it in the microwave to kind of get rid of the water.
Thinking it's going to like evaporate it or something. You know what? It's not going to press the comic, and I don't encourage anyone to do that. We tried doing that with the Turok at one point.
It was the day we watched this. We sat in this very room.
Oh my gosh, you're right. We watched that. That's why we did that.
Here.
Oh my gosh.
We filmed a bunch of stuff on this premise last year.
I totally forgot that's why we did that whole thing.
And we made a vow, a solemn pact that the only comic we would ever damage, if we were going to damage comic books for any reason, was going to be Turok #1. So we put Turok #1 in the microwave just to see what happens when you put a comic book in the microwave. But that comic has foil on the cover.
Yeah.
Don't microwave foil.
What do you think is going to happen?
Oh, who knows what's going to happen, man? Dinosaurs.
Dinosaurs are going to happen. Dinosaurs is going to happen. Oh. That's right. And as you'll find out from Ethan Wood, don't microwave your horror comic book because what happens is he unleashes the villain, the Ghastly Grinner, a clown who looks demonic.
Terrifying.
Who makes his family members, like Ethan's parents and family members and members of his society, into mindless zombie-like creatures that bleed blue blood from their mouths. This is a Y7 show. This screwed me up as a child.
You'd be watching this after like Rocko's Modern Life or like Rugrats or Doug. And here you go.
Open that.
What? I'm opening this?
Okay, now you have permission. He hasn't seen this. Open it up and take a look at what's inside. This is important. Go ahead. Do it.
I'm scared something's going to fly out.
Do it. Nothing's going to fly out at you, I promise.
Me.
You're not going to see the Ghastly Grinner get all, turning you into a zombie or something. What do you see there? Describe what you're seeing. What are you doing right now?
I'm opening. It's Turok.
Wait, what?
The inside
Explain.
is Turok.
Wait, what's going on?
What is going on?
Take the cover. Separate it.
Take the cover.
Take the cover.
Separate it.
It's not real.
It's not real.
This comic doesn't exist.
Okay.
This is a replica cover that I put a Turok #1 to give it some added volume so it looks like a real comic. This is a reproduction of a comic that doesn't exist because of this show. And I wanted to use a Turok in there because, you know, if I'm going to hide a comic book forever.
This is the one we microwave.
That's
well,
the one.
it's not the one we
move that.
microwave.
Pick that up on there. That's tape.
Ah!
Here. I'll fix it.
Right on camera, everyone.
It's okay. I'm going to fix it.
Rip.
He did that on camera. It was my fault.
Comic fam.
Comic fam. It's
Like
my
and
fault.
subscribe.
It's okay. It's a replica. It's a replica cover, and I just wanted the front. It's okay.
The front's all that matters.
The front's all that matters.
Oh, God.
I
This is
love
what you
it.
get when you have
You
me.
placed it down. You placed it right down on the
I did.
tape.
You watched it happen, too.
It's okay. It's okay. It's not a real comic. So if there was one to have it happen, it'd be this one. And I'm going to keep it in the bag that you screwed it up on.
Thank you.
It's okay.
Thank you
Anyways,
for remembering my shame for years and
it's
years.
okay. You're damaging the statues. You're damaging our repo fake covers.
This is why.
It's okay.
This is why you don't have me in the same room with Jeff anymore, because he's gonna bring in those Detective 27s, and I'll be like, "What you got?"
Oh my goodness. This is something that I wanted to own for my collection just because I wanted the cover. I think this is cool.
Yes.
And I have other reproductions on their way because this is a section where we like to bring comic books that break into the mainstream and that hit press and that hit the internet or hit television shows or movies, music even, to the mic. But this isn't a real issue. This isn't one of those moments where I'm going, whoa, there's a comic.
Whoa.
It doesn't exist. This isn't what makes it worthy of being in this show. No, we're going to go back. We're going to go back a little bit to when this Ethan Wood enters the comic shop. This is a real comic shop in Canada.
It's a real comic shop. They filmed it in the 94, probably maybe early 94, late 93. In a real comic shop, they clearly did not take down any of the decorations or comic books that they had scattered throughout the store. So as little Ethan is walking around this shop kind of wondering, you know, why am I here? Who sent me this letter? What am I doing? He's looking around and you can see comic books on the rack that are real. You can see Savage Dragon. You can see Star Trek. There's Punisher in there.
There's a lot of X-Force in there.
Right.
Think of the 90s comics and Comic Fam. They're not all showcased in this picture, but if you recognize any of these issues, you can only see kind of like the tops of a lot of them. Let us know in the comment section below which ones they are. We'll give you some credit in future videos.
Like a no prize or something.
Yeah, something, because it's crazy to think that they got away with this. This is official licensed Marvel product. You're seeing Wolverine on screen. Like
alongside Superman cardboard cutout too. So there's like different companies happening here. You got Image DC and Marvel Comics all in this one comic shop that I don't think they would let happen today if they were to film something like this now.
It's kind of like a little time capsule because that's what was on the shelf.
Yep.
At that time when they rented out that store probably for the day.
That's actually probably the best way to figure out what, you know, when they filmed it there. It was based on which week's comics were on the wall that day.
Oh, that's a good point. Yeah, if we can figure out some of these comics, Comic Fam, help us out.
You can see the titles, but it's hard to make out anything other than like, you know, the top very, very small part of the cover. But you can tell what color the covers are, so you might be able to, you know.
Yeah, I recognize some of the logos. And honestly, we could go through every cover of X-Force, but I know there's some X-Force diehards out there who are going to go, oh, no, I know what comic that is.
I know exactly which one that is off the top of my head.
It's so cool. So anyways, whoa. That's a comic. Loving this segment. And if you know of any others, just put them in the comment section below. We're going to go through them.
It's fun.
We're going to chat about them on the mic. And, you know, while we're talking about restored covers or reproduction covers.
Or damaging comics
Or
in any way.
damaging comics. Exactly, Ryan.
Right.
Well done. Well done. Again, it's okay.
I did that on purpose because I knew what we were talking about next.
I'm just glad you didn't do it on the front.
Me too.
You did it on the back. I don't care about the back. It's a fake cover. It's the front. The front is what I wanted. Dude, I got this from the UK.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. I paid a little more than I would like to admit.
Probably should have for a blank cover like that.
It's a blank cover, man.
That's cool.
It's fake, though. I like it. I think it's kind of interesting. All right, so we're talking about reproduction covers. We're talking about covers that aren't real, right? We're also talking about, you know, restoration a little bit. We're talking about making something new that wasn't there, tampering a little bit with comics. And that got me to this next subject of the show where I kind of want to do a community shout out. We're talking about a Facebook page that I follow that I've learned a lot from, and I wanted to bring it to the community's attention. We're talking about Hero Restoration. Now, what spawned this idea? I was chatting with Jeff on the mic last week.
I remember that, yeah.
What was going on?
It was a slab that he wanted, but that had restoration that was done to it. So in his mind, case closed. No, pass.
That's correct. Some members of the community don't like restored comics. It's a hard line. They say no. Or, they're going to have to decide whether or not they want to get like a higher grade restored purple label versus a non-restored blue label. It's going to be cheaper. You may get that higher grade, but it's not all original. There's some stuff happening to it. Collectors, they vary. But I like to think right now, based off of kind of the community in the comment section, let us know what you think about restored comics. We'd like to hear from you. I think that over time, it's gotten worse and people don't want it nearly as much. And based off of like how Jeff talks about it, even Russ, I think that right there is an indicator. But I was going through Wizard magazine, right? I found a handful of the early issues this past week. And I was going through and I found a couple ads for comic book restoration companies. And I was reading through it thinking, oh my goodness, like, what is this? Like, there's got to be more to this. A community of people okay with restoration that they have like reason to put an ad in a comic book collector's magazine. The view was different back then. Restoration wasn't looked at as a negative thing as much as it is today. There's a lot of people who don't care. We were talking about Todd McFarlane having some restored comics in his collection. Clearly he doesn't care either, right? So Hero Restoration is a restoration company. And I think you can learn a lot from these artists because what they do is a bit different. Because some people may poo-poo restoration, but sometimes restoration is a good idea. And I see it for what that is based off of the type of work that they take on. So I showed you this Facebook page. What did you see?
It's a lot more that goes into it than you would think on the surface. I hear restoration and my rookie brain pictures somebody going in with a Sharpie and filling in some blacks that got maybe faded out over the years, or coloring in some red stuff that maybe got smudged out, or fixing a staple maybe, or some really individual kind of small, tiny little things. But this goes way above and beyond what I had imagined it would be.
This is a recent post they did. Look at this video. Multiple comic book covers, but similar to this fake comic book, but these are real comic books in this video. I mean, we're looking at for Spider-Man, we have an X-Men 1, and we have just the cover. In order to restore a comic book, especially the cover, you got to remove it from the staples. So look at all these pages. And Comic Fam, for our audio listeners, we're looking at page after page after page of key, expensive, some Golden Age comics, a lot of comics that you would recognize, but just the cover because the staples were removed. Because how are you going to fix them? So I want to get into this a little bit more because I think we can learn a little bit, especially if your gut reaction is, why would you ever do this? Okay. Why would you ever do this? How could you ever touch a comic book? Why would you ever want it restored? There's never a time that you would want your comic book restored. Okay, well here, I'm going to answer your question with a detailed analysis of how they restored an Avengers 1. And then you can consider this a little differently if you look at restoration as a bad thing. So take a look at this Avengers number 1. The previous condition of this book prior to being handled by Heroes Restoration was as followed.
So on this Avengers 1, they had trimmed the sides. So all of the sides, not counting the spine, the top, the opposite of the spine, and then the bottom, a little bit was trimmed off of all three of those edges. And it is noticeable.
That's right. It was already trimmed. So the first thing is the comic's already been tampered with.
That's a good point. Like, I wouldn't have thought that. If it's already tampered with, then you might as well, I guess.
Right? Well, you keep reading. It says there was moderate amateur color touch already on the cover. All right? Also, there's a moderate amount of what was a combination of tape-like adhesive with paper carriers. There was added paper to this comic book. Also, the book is just generally in very low grade. Take a look at the art. It may not look like it right now. We'll show comparisons here in a second for a before and after. But if you look at the trimming that's gone on, you're missing art. You're missing parts of Loki's arm on that classic Kirby cover. And this book was not a good restoration reversal candidate, as Hero Restoration says on this post. So some people are like, oh, let's buy a restored comic and let's undo the restoration, give it the blue label that it deserves, right? Well, you can do that sometimes. In this case, professional and very clearly by the pictures, you can't do that with this book. This book is long gone. This is a restored book permanently, now and forever. So what do you do?
So in a case like that, you have a little more freedom, I guess, to kind of try things with it. Like, I would never attempt any of this stuff. I am nowhere near qualified like Mr. Hero Restoration is. But it's very interesting to see what somebody like that can do when they really dig into a comic book, so to speak.
So there has to be limits. How does someone work this out? They put a line in the sand. Don't make that grade bump above this. So don't go out of your way to do more work than necessary, because you're working with a value. Like, no matter what, there's going to be a value to what you do, and you can pay a lot of money to get this fixed. So let's go over what they did to this comic book. It's amazing.
They started by removing the tape. They extracted the tape adhesive stains out of the paper. They washed the cover in a water-based solution.
If you can see the pictures of this, comic fam, the before, it looks so grimy. You can see marker on the inside cover. This is a prime indicator if there's color touch, because on the cover, it may look like black marker like you described, right?
Right.
Like someone may have just blacked the spine. You're thinking, oh, it just looks like black. You're not going to see it. No, it bleeds through. You can open it up and you can see marker on the inside. That is your indicator that there is color touch.
Correct.
And notice this inside cover, this is clean.
Leaf casted, new paper pulp around perimeter and spine.
Oh, that extra paper is gone now.
How it got trimmed before, they're replacing the stuff that was trimmed on the edges.
Ooh, and they added paper. Okay, so
I didn't even know you could do something like that.
they're adding paper to fill out the cover's edges. How do you add paper but keep the comic looking the same?
Magic. Wizardry.
Alchemy?
Right? I don't know what these people are doing.
Alphonse, where you at? No. You have to pay an artist to redraw.
It's a very specific kind of craftsmanship.
They had to get the gloss to match. They had to seal it, and they had to assemble this book. There was added color touch, and they had to extend out the art to the new dimensions. Extending out the art. They had an artist. Shout out to Sophie Vitry for the excellent color touch and art recreation. So we're looking at a side-by-side now. Notice just a little bit of art, how much further this comic book goes. It's a masterpiece. This is art. Now, it's maybe not something some collectors would want, but argue with me here. Is this a process that you can't respect? This is amazing.
It's something I had not even looked into, and until you kind of see exactly what the nitty-gritty of this looks like, it's hard to really get a full appreciation and understanding of what actually goes into it, and it makes you, it does make you appreciate and respect it a little bit more.
Right.
It's like, do you want the one version of the comic that looks accurate, that is damaged and worn, or you could pay and have it spruced up a little bit, have it touched up, look a little bit more like it did the day it came off the press back in the day. So kind of just depends on what the individual collector wants.
And so, again, some people think that, I don't want to touch an existing comic. And I hear you there. I personally don't want to do that either. But I've also never been presented with a comic that's so expensive where I would consider doing it. But this is an example that I think a lot of people don't consider. What if it's already messed up?
If you have a really, really expensive, important key that's already been manipulated and color touched and messed with beforehand, like at that point,
dude, if my dad gave me this particular comic, if it was a gift from when I was a kid or something that happened to have color touch and have problems, maybe I did it, who knows? Like, that book means something to me. The key value, it would be secondary. Like,
sure.
So a lot of people, their comic books mean more than just like what they paid for on the day.
Or like a
when
dollar
they got
amount
it.
Or something.
Yeah, it's like there's
sentimental value.
Sentimental value. That person, I could just imagine going like, I'm going to pay what I want to pay because I'm keeping it.
This particular book intact. Yeah.
Exactly. So hope the comic fan found a little value to that. I want to give a diverse opinion on this show because everyone has different opinions about comics. We all collect differently. So I figure highlight someone in the community. I'll put their Facebook link in the description below so you can follow them, see the cool work that they're doing. Side note, they also mentioned that the second to Spider-Man character that comes in the most for restoration purposes is Wolverine.
Oh boy.
It's kind of a fun little coincidence, but it makes sense. I think that right there is super telling that Wolverine is such a focus for comic book collectors in 2020.
That's very true.
Take a look at this picture. It's freaking gorgeous. They're saving comics over there. I'm interested to know what the community thinks about restored comic books. Do you buy them? What's your line? What's too much? I want to know about it in the comment section below. And now I want to know about Christian Bale coming back to the superhero universe, but not the same one that he entered in with. We're not talking about Dark Knight. We're not talking about more Batman. Robert Pattinson, he's got that down. I'm getting more and more excited every single day about Robert Pattinson. That's a whole other rant. Maybe we'll save that for another day, but this dude is impressing me. It's got to get that out there into the ether. This dude's going to freaking kill it as Batman.
Good Time, man. Got to watch Good Time.
Oh my gosh.
Showed you the trailer before we started this.
Dude, I don't even know, man.
Watch Good Time, comic fam.
Okay, Good Time, but that's not the only recommendation.
Good Time. I want to see The Lighthouse. I haven't seen The Lighthouse yet, but that looks intense.
A24.
That doesn't look like it's going to be for everybody.
It's going to be for me, though.
Yeah, exactly.
We're going to get into...
Me too.
Okay, so we talked about horror and scary stuff on this show, right?
Right.
Ghastly Grinner.
Scary as it gets.
This messed me up as a kid. I want to talk about other stuff. Other horror.
That messed with us as kids?
I want to get into that in the after show. That's going to happen on, again, Spotify, iTunes, Stitcher, or SoundCloud. So, Christian Bale.
Christian Bale.
He's not going to be doing more Batman stuff.
No.
Robert Pattinson? Good. Got it. Okay. But we have word from the Hollywood Reporter that he's being eyed for Thor, the next movie.
Thor, Love and Thunder.
Which is supposed to be kind of a comedy.
It's directed by Taika Waititi again, who did Thor Ragnarok. So if we can expect something, kind of off the beaten path like that movie was.
Dude, I like that movie,
movie was
man.
fantastic.
It was
That's
so good.
Top tier MCU for me.
Okay, so Christian Bale coming in to do a Marvel role.
To do what, though?
I don't know, but Hollywood Reporter. Okay, we can spec. Obviously, we can spec on the show.
We
all
can.
we want. We do that kind of stuff.
We do.
But here's the thing.
They did it.
They did it.
They speculated on what Christian Bale might be doing in this Thor movie.
They broke the news, and then they gave a list of characters. So
it's a 1-2 punch. That's very helpful.
It is very helpful, and I think it's important because this is what the masses is thinking about right now.
Right. This is a Hollywood trade magazine, not necessarily a comic book specific things. So these people aren't necessarily neck deep in the comics like us. So they threw out, I think, 3 examples for characters that Christian Bale might be playing. 4
examples.
4 of them.
And we're going to go through them right now and talk about their key appearances and what's going on. So the first person that is on the Hollywood Reporter spec radar, but was also a obvious spec radar for Key Collector for a long time now, is Balder the Brave. This is Thor's half-brother. This is an OG character. I mean, you'd kind of think that this character would have been introduced a long time ago. I mean, his first appearance is Journey into Mystery 85. I don't have a feeling this particular comic is going to go up that much more in value than it already is, though.
Right? That's the first appearance of Loki.
Yeah, that's a strong key appearance. That's always going to take the cake for most notable.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a $4,000 book in high grade, and that's like,
Reminds me of how Batman 1 has the first appearance of Joker and Catwoman.
But it's Batman 1.
Right. So
It's like, meh.
some things are going to kind of get ignored, and I think you can make the case for Balder.
What is their case?
So their case for Bale as Balder, we pulled a few quotes from the article from the writer Richard Newby. He says, Bale definitely has the looks for Balder, but unfortunately, Balder seems like a character who should have been introduced much earlier in the franchise, which I kind of have to agree with.
But it's a character that wouldn't have his face covered. Christian Bale is an A-list actor. You would assume that they would want to debut him as a character where you can see him more.
Counterpoint, though.
Okay, do it.
Rocket Raccoon and Groot.
True.
Bradley Cooper, Vin Diesel, those are big deal guys, and
That's true.
it could be. I would say probably
Twice
not
on the
with
list.
Christian Bale. I don't think Christian Bale has like a voice like the two
Right.
of them do. So
That's true. I mean,
Yeah.
and honestly, do you really want Vin Diesel on screen? Probably not. You want his voice. Leave him to
except for Bloodshot, yeah.
Bloodshot? Hey,
Yeah.
I'm all in for Bloodshot, dude. I'm going to see that.
I'll be
I'm excited.
waiting at home on that one. You
Okay.
enjoy Bloodshot.
I'm excited. Dude. I don't care.
Okay.
All right. The next spec, according to the Hollywood Reporter.
This one was interesting. I didn't see this coming.
Dude, it's interesting to see the words Gore the God Butcher on the Hollywood Reporter.
That's
I feel
how-
like it's a little too close to home for the comic book community.
Right? That's how you know stuff.
I like a little distance a little bit.
Just talk about
you know?
Balder and Loki and like
That's okay,
the,
you know.
the normal guys.
The normal stuff, but they're like, oh no, it could be Gore the God Butcher. First appearance. Oh my goodness. Thor, God of Thunder, number 2. We're talking about Jason Aaron.
Right? This
All
is
right,
this
the
is recent.
antagonist.
Correct.
$30 high, high for this comic book. And it's been on Spec Radar for a long time.
I would very much love to see them pull some stuff from Jason Aaron.
That's a tough one, man. I mean, that's like,
This is heavy.
that's
Like,
heavy. He's a deity killer.
he's basically a serial killer of gods.
Yeah, you don't want to mess with this dude.
And
And he's
I can't see
the
this.
villain of that run.
This doesn't feel like it would mesh well with Taika's directing style and the humor sensibilities that he's brought to the Thor films lately. I don't know. It could be maybe if they want to make it really, really dark and make it kind of funny in that way.
Or make him one of the lead antagonists in Marvel, because that right there is someone who's, to me, modern time Thanos level type of character. Like he is,
right.
He's not somebody just like you throw into a movie and then he's gone, which they don't want to do that with Christian Bale.
I almost feel like they should save Gore the God Butcher for like, this feels way down the road, but whenever they're done with Chris Hemsworth, when they're done with Thor and they bring Thor back for a new series, like eventually when they reboot Thor, whenever that's going to happen, bring Gore the God Butcher in for that.
Okay, let's talk about Dario Egger.
So this guy's actually been on Key Collector for a while as a spec book. This character, Dario Agger? Auger? I'm not sure which one. But he is the CEO of the Roxxon Oil Energy Corporation. That's actually been referenced a few times in the background of like the Iron Man movies specifically. So there is precedent in the MCU for the Roxxon to be a thing.
He's a CEO, dude. He could be rocking a suit, maybe with a business card that he's kind of obsessed about. You see?
Mm-hmm. That's why people are thinking they might be looking at Christian Bale for this guy. He also happens to...
American Psycho, by the way, was a reference.
Thank you. He also, this character, Dario Agger, happens to be a half Minotaur person. He can like transform into a Minotaur.
So you get both. You can get his personality, get his face on screen, but then you also have the mightiness of this like being.
And Mr. Newby, the writer of this article, pointed out how that's the Minotaur aspect definitely feels like something that would be in Taika's wheelhouse. It's very strange and weird to have a guy suddenly transform into a Minotaur, maybe even in the middle of some kind of conference meeting at the at the head of his corporation or something. I could see something really creepy and funny happening with that.
Exactly. This is on the high end, a $12 book, but it's been on Spec Writer, as you mentioned, for a minute. And there have been some ties to other movies, hasn't there?
Yeah, that corporation has showed up in the Iron Man films before. It is a good. He made a pretty a blunt point about how making the villain of this movie the head of an oil company in the midst of certain like fire situations that may be happening in Australia. There's certain wildfire climate related things happening in the world right now. It wouldn't be the worst idea, I think, especially if he's a big scary Minotaur guy / creepy Christian Bale American Psycho kind of dude.
Okay. Well, you said it then. You said he turning into some type of animal-like character. There's one more character on this list that we've all been excited to see. We've all been waiting to see. We saw him on the building in Thor Ragnarok.
That's right. You're talking about Beta Ray Bill?
Beta Ray Bill, baby. Come on, dude. Bring him in.
Yeah.
But are they going to give Christian Bale a horse head?
I don't know if I see Christian Bale doing this.
I don't know about that, though.
Yeah.
I want to. Dude, I would. Imagine if they did it, though. Imagine if they're like, oh, Christian Bale's in this movie, and then he's just got a freaking horse head.
Yeah, that would be.
That kind of looks like him. They have to make him a little similar.
Sure. Yeah, that'll be good. Let's line up for that one. I personally don't understand how they're possibly going to make Beta Ray Bill work, but they've done stranger things in these movies. So Beta Ray Bill, maybe that's who Christian Bale's going to be playing.
We all know this key book first appearing in issue 337. It's $90 for a high-end copy. If you can find it for that price, you'd be sitting good right now. It's a great book, man.
It does feel like he's bound to pop at some point in some adaptation of something in the MCU. I just personally can't see how it's going to work. He seems way too ridiculous to me, but I don't know. I'm down to have my mind changed on that one.
What do you think, Comic Fam? Let us know in the comment section below. Who do you want to see Christian Bale play?
Dude. I'm just glad he's coming back. Like I missed him. He was a pretty cool Batman.
Oh, you missed him,
right?
I missed him too.
He did play a really good Dick Cheney though. I gotta say, in Vice. I did watch that movie. He's been doing some cool things in between Batman and whatever he's going to be doing in Thor. But it's good to have him back in like comic book stuff.
I'm stoked, man. I'm all about it. And you should definitely go onto Key Collector, download it, and make sure that you use that code TOM101. It's going to unlock your key alerts. It's going to make it so that you are always up to date on what's going on. When this information gets updated and one of these characters looks like they're, possibly going to be outdoing one another, maybe they're going to go one way or another, well, Key Collector is going to let you know.
We got a key alert just a few days ago about Colin Farrell as the Penguin. Like that got ironed in, and boom, you get a notification on your phone. And that's honestly my favorite part about the app. You check your phone and you can just get news sent to your phone, to your notifications updated. Like, oh, Colin Farrell's the Penguin. Cool. Go on with my day. I know that now. Yeah. Thank you, Nick.
Boom. Making it happen for the comic book community. Very influential. Appreciate him. All right, comic fan, hit the subscribe button. We make a lot of comic book themed content. We are going to continue this conversation onto the after show, so come join us there. Hit the like button if you found any value to the content that we do. And, of course, as always,
don't forget to geek responsibly.
Enough said.